Hey everybody, welcome back to Slingin TV. This week we're going to be talking about championship weekends.
Yeah, we got a really good interview with Ari Skelton.
We're going to be talking about a tech tip with cool tools.
Yep, our fan of the week question, of course.
And of course, Songer says. So stay tuned. It's Slingin TV presented by Joe's Cardi. Hey everybody, welcome back to Slingin TV. I'm Buddy Ray, and of course you all know JP3 Jack Crawl. It's getting to be that time of the year, championship weekends.
Yes, it is.
And in fact, some tracks have already crowned track champions.
Yep.
Now the national scene and the local scenes aren't completely wrapped up, but
No,
we're
the
even
next
starting to shake
2-3
it
weeks
up.
are going to be really big for a lot of guys.
Really big for a lot of guys. But you came up with an idea. Why don't you go ahead and open it? I liked your idea.
Well, basically, I mean, it's an idea. It's just something you need to keep in mind. It's at the end of the season here. There's guys running for track championships, and you know, guys like you and I, we're not in the championship hunt, but we're going to be out there racing because we run our weekly races. We run some special events and things like that. But I've just seen it happen before, and I've been in the situation. And you got these guys that are leading these races, and they're leading the points championships. Give them that little bit of extra room, you know. Yeah, you paid your money to race, and yeah, you don't want to get beat, but you know, you got to look at the big picture. Let these guys get by you. Give them that little extra room. I'm not saying just give up your spots, but you know, if these guys are around you and things are tight, just give them a little extra room, you know, because the last thing you want to do is be that guy, you know.
Well, the one thing I've told drivers in the past is, usually with the last 2 or 3 weeks, and definitely the last 2 or 3 weeks, there's going to be a lot of trading paint and fender rubbing and stuff like that. I do agree with you that if somebody's running for the national, or national championship, or even a track championship, give those guys room. They've battled to the front. Now, with that being said, you take a track like McCool, Corning, or I-80 that's NASCAR where they pay out top 10. Hey, even those 10th place guys, know who's in the top 10.
Yeah, I'm not saying give up. I mean, if you're in the top 10, you're battling, you're racing, but you know.
If there's a chance of track payout, we're going to be racing.
Yeah, but, you know, it's just one of those guys that are running for those championships, those title guys. I'm not saying 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th. I'm talking, there's the top 2 guys, usually at every track, and they're battling, and they're going to be battling right down to the very end. They always are. Just give those guys a little extra room, and don't be stupid and take out half the field. And you and I
were just talking about. The prime example is what I did with Johnny Bright's car. I go out for a feature at I-80 a couple weeks ago. It was the last feature of the night. I come in, Fred, my crew guy, goes, "Why in the world were you running the low side? You were stupid slow." And I was like, "That's fine. I had to start dead last anyway, driving somebody else's car, so I'm not a factor in this." And the guys that were running up front, I knew they were coming, so for 5 laps left to go, I hugged the very inside wall and I opened up all the lanes and said, "Here you go, guys. I'm not a factor. Have at it." That's what we're talking about.
And if you haven't got your car figured out by these weeks, you know, going into these last couple of weeks, or you're going to try something new, just be really careful. You know, don't go sliding through the field and turn one in the first lap of the race and take out half the field. You know, just stuff like that. It's one of those courteous things.
I was just getting ready to say the word courteous because, like, a few weeks ago I went to US 30, and I told them, I was like, "Guys, I'm going to start way in the back. I'm not even going to be on the tail end of the guy in front of me in the group. I'm just out here having fun, racing, stuff like that." And especially on these championship nights, I've seen it in the past where you might have, now this doesn't happen very often, but I've seen a potential track champion or even a national champion start in the 2nd or 3rd row. Well, that first row comprises of 2 guys or 2 girls, 2 drivers regardless,
right,
that are 30th in points.
Yep.
I've seen those 2 drivers
get together.
I've seen those 2 drivers once or twice. So you know what? You guys earned it. You start on the front row. You know, and this is on the last show, and those 30th place guys that start on the tail, they're not a factor.
No.
So let those 2 guys, you know, on 2nd or 3rd row, let the good guys start up front, and it usually works out really well, but you get a lot of respect for that. And if you're running for a track championship and you're like, oh my God, this guy's up here in front of me, and that guy says, okay, look, I'm not a factor, I'm gonna start back here. That potential track champion is gonna give you
the reason I
respect.
say is I have ran for a track championship, was second in points, and got taken out in that same situation.
Yep.
Going down the last couple of weeks, guys just being stupid up front, and you get taken out, and it's frustrating. It's no different than any other week, but the only difference is if you know you're not in contention, just go out there with the intention of, let's go have a good fun race, get some good laps on the car, do what we can, you know, and let these guys do their thing, because sometimes it's a lot of fun to watch those battles. Even though you're in back, you can watch them through your front window and you see these guys going at it. I mean, last week at I-80 when we were racing, it was a B, but there was some good tight racing where 5 guys crossed the finish line, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 side by side, and you have no idea where you finished.
I've got to do a shout out. I think it's either Ross A. Frank or Tyler A. Frank, I think is his name, the 11A Sport Mod. And a shout out to the Cody Olson 777 Sport Mod in my heat race. This has to be, hands down, the funnest heat race of the year for me. I had those guys up there, Preston Gigax. Man, did he look strong. I started on the pole. Preston jumped out to an early lead, jumped out in front of us. But it was me, Cody Olson, and then this Ross or Tyler A. Frank. I can't remember which one drives the 11A car. But anyways, we're going into 3, and I left just a huge gap. It's like the track parted like the Red Sea. And here comes Cody Olson, does a slide jump up against the front of my car. And I'm in the car and I'm laughing and I'm going, that was freaking cool. That was cool. And he just comes up like a sprint car. Well, as he goes up,
You duck down.
I duck down. So then I'm going to the outside wall, and here comes Cody Olson to my inside. And I was like, all right, I got Cody's number on this one. So I got on the binders. And when I got on the binders, well, I knew where he was going. He was going to go to the high side of 1. Well, when he went to the high side of 1, I pitched the car sideways. As I pitched the car sideways to dive in the corner, then guess who's on the inside of me?
Yeah.
The A-Frank guy. You know, and that was a lot of good fun racing right there.
Right.
But in that instance, if Olson or A-Frank are running for a track championship,
Yep.
and I'm 11th or 12th in points,
I'm
just gonna let
them
good old bye.
Let them give them a
There
little
you
room
go.
and then get back on it and have some more
Yep,
fun.
I-
Exactly. Well, I mean, and that's the point. You know, that's why we wanted to talk about it. You know, people watch the show. Some people may think we're wrong about what we're saying. You know, race to the death. But you know, I don't.
But
I don't
the one
think that's
thing
true.
I don't like seeing, though, the one thing I don't like seeing is somebody is out there, and a lot of people are really going to disagree with me. You're out there, you're running for a track championship, or you might even have regional, state, or national championship contention on the line. I have seen people go out there and they'll come up on a lap car, but by themselves. They're holding the bottom, or they're way up on the high side, or they're doing whatever. They're by themselves doing their own thing, and I've seen this championship car come up and just dump them.
Yeah.
That I don't like seeing.
Yeah, I agree with that too. There's no reason for that. There's a lot of room to go around them if you got to go around.
Yeah.
them. And if they're that slow, you should pass them cleanly anyway. No problem.
But on the flip side of things, and I've seen this now that you got me fired up talking about
About
this.
time.
Yeah. So the one thing that really irks me is I've seen a lot of fast guys. Chris Abelson's been accused of this. Sabin's been accused. Grabowski's been accused. And these are really top-notch, A-list, top-shelf drivers. They're really, really fast guys. I'm not saying that nobody makes a mistake, but when I've watched some of these guys run the high side on the track, it doesn't matter, dry slick, tacky, bull ring, half mile, I don't care what it is, they're on the rim running the high side. And then you got the guy in the bottom, just like putting around, but it's like turn 4, he's on the bottom. Turn 1, he's gonna be on the high side. Turn 2, he might be in the middle. Turn 3, he might drive to the concession stand to get nachos. And then he'll come back and turn 4 and run the high. He's so unpredictable, you don't know where he's going. But then I've seen these really fast guys, they're right up here, here's a really slow guy, and all of a sudden the slow guy comes up here while the fast guy's got a 40-mile-an-hour charge. At that point, that is not that guy. In my opinion, when you know somebody's on the high side, you better give them room, because when they come off the high side of that corner, they're gonna have a charge like nobody's business.
Yeah, it's like old Roger Hayden used to say, pick a line and stick with it. If you don't hold your line, then you don't need to be out there.
And stick with it. No, I'm not saying.
No, I'm not saying don't change lines, but don't
Yeah.
change multiple lines in one lap. Pick a line and
Yeah.
and gently work your way to the next line if that one's not working for you.
About the only time I'm gonna be making a brash, harsh move to change a lane is, well, if I've got a track championship or, track payout, facing me. So, well, tell us what you guys think. We want to know. Coming down to the end of the season, you guys are running for a track championship or a state championship or a championship in your head. So, what do you like to see out of the drivers? Let
Respect
us know.
and courtesy. That's just remember those two words, which you're not real good at those. But, anyways, we'll be back with some more Slingin' Dirt.
I'm Ari Scouten, driver of the 99 RE B-Mod, and I'm afraid Buddy tied a kilo of Colombian Bam Bam under my car. And you're watching Slingin' Dirt.
Hey race fans, Sunday, September 6th, it's the Kinsey Memorial Night Before Nationals, Stewart International Speedway in Stewart, Iowa. Gates open at 5 o'clock, hot laps at 7, racing to follow. You're going to have $1,000 to win IMCA Modifieds, $1,000 to win IMCA Stock Cars, the Clint Walward Memorial with the Mini Mods, and the Kylie Hunter Memorial with the Sprint Cars. Stewart Speedway Night Before Nationals. Welcome back to Slingin' Dirt TV, presented by Joe's Karting. Joe's Karting, your only place to race. We've decided I'm going to unfriend Jack. I made him cry. But that's nothing unusual. If you see him every week at the track, you'd understand.
Yeah.
So, anyways, this week we've got a really good interview with a really good up-and-coming driver. I don't know how to better describe Ari as a more level-headed, quiet, down-to-earth kid. I've seen that kid come a long way since he started.
We both have. He's kind of grown up in our circle of people, and he has the right tools. He's got some good mentorship going.
He's got a great support group.
Support group is great, and he is driving a lot of different tracks, getting a lot of wheel time, and he's gradually getting better.
Yeah, and every time I see old Ari Scouten, he's from Blair, Nebraska. He's a senior at Blair High School, but every time I see him, he looks like a young Woody Allen. I can't help but think Woody Allen when I see Ari Scouten.
I think Harry Potter.
You think Harry Potter? Maybe if Woody Allen and Harry Potter, had kids or something like that, that would be Ari. But he's a really good kid, and his dad Gus is an awesome guy.
Yep.
Leslie, well, Mama Leslie.
Lots of fun.
Lots of fun. So, without further ado, here's Ari Scouten, driver of the 99 RE. Hey everybody, welcome back to Slingin' Dirt TV. We've got a little hidden gem and a driver right here, the driver of the 99 RE Northern Sport Mod 9C, Ari Scouten. Ari, you drive all over the place. You're what, 17?
Yep.
17 and you're driving all over the place. How cool is it when all the other kids are out there cruising Main Street, they're going to the pool or jacking around, doing whatever. You get to drive race cars. You got 2 of them in the shop here, and you're going all over the Midwest.
Well, I don't know. I guess it's never really learned to go like what other people are doing, like you described, people going to cruise Main Street and all that. I really never did that, so I just stayed with these.
A little bit more interesting lifestyle with these too. Probably keeps you out of trouble.
Yeah,
I would imagine.
Spend most of my time here.
Well, yeah, Dad always knows where you're at, so. Gus, what about you? How fun is it being able to drive all over the Midwest? You don't see a lot of 17-year-olds doing this.
Well, I'm having a blast doing this with him. When I was growing up, this is something I would have liked to have done, but my family didn't have money to do something like this. I'm living kind of vicariously through him. I'm not forcing him to do this. He wants to do this. He loves doing this. As soon as he gets out of school, boom, he's over here. And for me to get to go do this, I'm just having a blast watching him. It's it's a blast watching him. It's frustrating some too, because he just turned 17. He was been 16, and last year he didn't have a driver's license till this year. So
Right.
he's racing these cars, and he don't even know how to drive on the street. So.
Have you ever wondered, sat up there in the pit stands, you're looking out at the track, you're watching the already passed cars, have you ever thought to yourself, it'd be kind of cool to jump in one of these things and one night just be able to say that I had that opportunity to race with Ari?
Yeah, and I've.
You ever come close?
Oh yeah, I've threatened him with that. It's like if you
Can you beat him?
No, I've threatened him because it's like if you're not going to drive him hard, I'll find somebody who will, or I can drive him as easy as you can. So prove to me you want to race.
So, but you've never actually said, I want to go out there one night, just to race Ari. Have fun, have that moment.
I would like to do it, but I don't know. And maybe, I don't know, maybe someday I would, but.
You think you could beat him?
Probably.
Probably.
I think so.
Well, you might be younger and faster, but he's older and wiser.
Yeah, well, he knows how to drive on the road, so he'd probably still have some kind of advantage.
You think so? Even with all the
Well, I
laps under-
think I'd probably be pretty close.
Wow, that's a lot of respect right there. A lot of sons would be like, nah, I'm gonna put Dad in the wall. He'll end up somewhere over there.
Well, see, now I have to fix him too.
Oh, so you're not one of those kids. You actually have to work on him too.
Well, we both work on it, but I put in as much work as he does.
Yeah.
Maybe he puts in more, but
When you're working on the car, what's the funnest thing that you get to do on the car?
I like doing the body work.
Really?
Yeah, a lot of people don't like it, but that's my favorite thing to do.
My favorite thing to do on my cars is Fred and Jeff. Hey, can you do this, you know, while I'm playing on my cell phone? You've seen this. Harley, can you do this? No, just joking, guys. So, you know, actually with me, it's more the scaling part. I like to see what the car's doing on the scale, setting it up, trying different things. Now, this is a question for each one of you individually, and then as a unit. What is your guys' favorite tracks to go to individually, but what's your favorite track as a unit to go to?
I don't know, I have a lot of favorite tracks. I like Denison. I don't know why, I just always have. I like Eagle, there's a lot of people, a lot of cars, a lot of racing. A lot of tracks, kind of 3/8 smaller tracks.
More of the bull rings.
Yeah, I like that. There's a lot more racing that goes on.
Yeah. Gus, what about you?
For the racing, I like the small tracks too, from watching and the excitement and the people at some of the places we go to, the people at Eagle, the people at Stewart, Iowa. Those are not, I'm probably stupid to go run there all the time because this is what we're doing every week, is fixing whatever's bent on it and things like that. Now we could avoid that if we go run some of the other tracks that it's not as tight racing. You know, we've been going to Columbus. I like going there. I like the people there and everything, but we never do any good there. But my philosophy has been with him, for him to learn, because we're not like some other kids that come from a racing family that the dad was racing or grandpa was racing, and so now this kid's racing. I didn't come from that. I'd gone to circle track races and stuff. So when we started doing this, we both started from nothing. And the only way to learn it, my philosophy is you can learn 3 times faster if you do 3 times a week rather than doing it once a week.
Right.
So, you know, and so there's advantages to that, and there's also disadvantages that we put in a lot of work to have it ready each night, but.
Yep. Well, let's back up a little bit. You're talking about, you know, you guys came from nothing. You've built quite an impressive racing operation, to say the least here. But Ari, your family is no stranger to racing whatsoever. Give our viewers out there a little bit of a historical background on the Scout name.
Well, actually it was a Bond
Or the
name.
Bond name, yep.
But it was my great-grandpa. He owned a bunch of midgets, sprint cars back in the 50s and 40s or 50s, somewhere in there. And he had probably about 10, I can't remember how many cars, 10 to, I don't know, 15, something like that. And he ran like probably what the 360s today is. probably what he ran, what he would spend, and what he used to own.
Les Vaughn was his name, right?
Mhm.
Yep. When you have a Hall of Famer in a car owner, a driver like Les Vaughn, and you're moving up through the ranks yourself and you're getting more and more seat time, when you started, did that ever put added pressure on your shoulders? Like, you know, I've got to be good. My great grandfather was good. Or did you say, I'm my own person, let me accelerate at my own pace?
I tried to move along at my own pace, but I still wanted to be able to do or hold on to some of the sponsors. I didn't want them to get kind of like he's not doing any good. I won't want to sponsor him, but I'd try to move at my own pace.
I see. Gus, one question I wanted to find one particular question just for you. You know, you got to meet my dad when he was alive, and in racing, it doesn't matter what father-son, father-daughter combo you got going on, there's always going to be that sense of tension and anxiety at the tracks. You know, my dad and I, we'd go after each other. I've seen you and Ari get after each other a few times. But how do you separate father-son versus crew chief driver? How do you do that?
Well, the way I have to do that is when I'm being crew chief and I'm not on him and he's mad at me and things like that, and then he gets mad and he wants to throw stuff, he wants to go away from me, then I have to turn on the father side and say, you have to understand, I'm proud of you, I'm proud of how you're doing, but it's not my job just to say good job and that's good enough, and I'm also your coach and to push you, you know, and the fact that I'm pushing you and making you mad, I think that's part of my job for the racing side.
Right.
But then on the other side, like I just told you, I have to talk to him like that he understands that's the racing side, but I'm still proud of whatever you do. You know, and if you don't want to do this, that's fine. You know, and if, you know, because I've asked him, what do you want to do? Do you want to race just so you can say you're a race car driver? Or do you want to try and win? You know? Because if you want to try and win, and there's been a time I remember his mother even on him. It's like, wreck the thing. Not saying we want you to wreck it, but push it and try.
Yep.
You know, he's not that type. He's not a daredevil kid. You know, there are kids, you know, that are they're the ones that get tickets in their cars all the time, things like that. He knows he doesn't have an excuse to do that because he can go as fast as he wants on the track, so don't be getting tickets. And he knows that he doesn't get to do this just because.
Right.
His grade's got to be good, all those things, and he's a great kid. He earns the privilege to do this. So
That's one thing I don't hear a lot of people talk about. They think it's a right in a way to drive a race car. And when you're 17, you understand it's not a right, it's a privilege. You don't hear that in a lot of today's younger kids coming up through the sport. It's like they don't understand this is a privilege. For every RE scout now out there on the track, there's probably 500 of them sitting up in the stands wishing they had the shot at doing what Ari's doing. Let's talk about your schooling a little bit. I'm actually kind of excited. I want to see where you're going to go with this. You're going to be a senior. You're at Blair High School this year. Mm-hmm. Just in high school alone, you're not me, that's for sure. I'm kind of the out there, outgoing, boisterous, borderline obnoxious from time to time. Gus is over here laughing.
I'm trying not to. I've been around you.
Yeah. You are level-headed. You're about as level-headed as they come. You see things in a lot different perspective than a lot of kids. How do you keep so level-headed and you don't let an ego get to the best of you? You don't let, things get out of hand. You're like the boy next door. How do you keep on that plane?
I kind of just, whenever I get mad, I'll go away and won't listen to him, or I'll ignore him or something like that. But I'll just try to stay away from it.
Gus, what about you? What do you think?
He knows that he's lucky he gets to do this, and he's not, like what you just said, he's quiet, And he, you know, he has his friends at school and stuff, and he was asked one time, what do your friends think about what you do? And he said, well, they don't know. It's like, what? How come they don't know? Because he doesn't brag about it, and he said, if they find out, that's fine, but I'm not going around showing off, and that's not the way he is.
I was talking to a driver within the last 2 weeks. He comes up to me, this actually happened. He comes up to me and he goes, you know that 99 RE kid, right? I go, RE Scouting? Yeah. Is he always the way he is when you talk to him? And I was like, it kind of blew me away. I was like, well, what are you talking about? I've never known him to be a certain way.
Other than quiet?
Yeah, other than quiet. So this is what he says, and this speaks examples to the work mentality, the effort, and the maturity of Ari here. You got into this driver, popped a tire of his, whatever. He's like, I was so enamored by the fact that here's this quiet, shy kid. He come up, he apologized, offered to buy us a tire and a rim, and he's like, when so many of us want to get mad at each other, how do you get mad at that? All you can do is look at that young man, Ari. He's like, I've never really talked to him, and I had to give the guy mad props. You don't see drivers getting into other drivers offering to buy him a tire or something like that.
Well,
and
don't think that anytime he hits somebody,
yeah, they're buying parts.
We're going to help fix you. That ain't the way it works. But I know the incident you're talking about, and that was a deal where, in my opinion, it's like, and he knew too, it's like, I screwed up, I shouldn't have done that. And there was a friend of ours, and it was like, I felt bad. I know we felt bad because,
right,
you know.
But regardless, you don't see a lot of drivers doing that. You know, a lot of drivers out there, they may disagree with me, but a lot of drivers go out there like, well, look, you're the one that signed in with the race car. You knew the inherent risk was signing in with the race car. It is what it is. But you guys took the high road and said, look, you know, we screwed up or whatever the case may be. And that guy was so enamored. He goes, and that spoke so much. I mean, that guy for probably 15 minutes had nothing to say but good things about you and you.
Well, we've had that 2 or 3 times where he's come off and he said, I didn't mean to hit him, and what happened? And I said, go tell him, don't tell me that, tell him that.
Yeah.
And I said, I'll go over with you and stuff like that, because it's a scary thing, because he's a kid and sometimes he's talking to these adults. But, and I think 99% of the people in the racing community understand that, like you said, things happen, but we're willing to help anybody. You know, as far as if you need parts or anything. We were up in Park Jefferson, and there was an AMOD guy. We don't know him from Adam, but his whole hub broke, the wheel went off and everything. Well, there was a parts trailer there. He came to me if I had a hub or something. I didn't have a hub, I had a drive plate. And I said, I don't got a hub, I got a drive plate, I got, you know, so if you can find a hub. Well, then he came back, you know, I found a hub, so they got it put together, and it was a used drive plate because I had one, and I keep some of the used parts in case something breaks or I need them. Well, how much for? I said, it's just used, and I said, don't worry about it, you can use it. I don't know him.
Right.
I don't know if I'll ever see him again. We went to Park Jefferson and got wrecked bad, and I don't know that he likes going there. And but I think in the long run, I would rather have all kinds of friends than be one of those drivers, even if we were the top, but nobody liked us.
You know, funny thing, in the past, I've actually loaned out the parts like that, you know, and people are like, how much you want for it? He's like, nah, don't worry. And they're like, let me guess, it's gonna come back to, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna need help, and that's when I'm gonna get you back. So don't worry about paying me now.
But that's the reason people help. If you help them, they help you.
Yeah,
and
so
that's.
No, I'm not going to be giving out motors and chassis and stuff like that. But
and I guess
that's one thing.
What it's coming to is last year especially, I said, we're nobody knew us. I want to get to be known and people and become part of the group of the racers and stuff. This year he's been racing really well. People are noticing him.
Yep.
We're able to get connections with good racers to learn things. Not that they're teaching us, but if you're a good listener, he's probably a better listener than me because I talk, but so.
I want to go back to the school. You're a senior this year. You're making college plans. I haven't talked to your mom and dad about this, but are you a for sure at University of Ohio? If I can spit that out.
That's where I want to apply there. If I get accepted, that's probably where I'll go.
If you apply there and you go into the motorsports program, what's your long term? Give me 5 years, give me 10 years.
Well, I'm not saying I want to be exactly like them, but like Jed or like Harris, they build their own frames, build their own parts, and sell them, resell parts and other things like that.
So you kind of want to go into the parts side of it, selling the chassis and stuff like that.
I want to build my own chassis too.
Call it Hog House Motorsports, hauling the bacon.
Something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Do you know when you might be able to go into that University of Ohio? If you can get in there?
I want to apply here in the next couple of weeks, so sometime fairly soon.
So when you're going to the University of Ohio, providing that you get into the program, do you plan on racing while you're there?
Yeah, well, they have their own motorsports team, so if I'm not a driver, I'll work on their cars while the other drivers drive it. In other words, if I get accepted, I'd like to drive for them. And then if I have my grades up above a certain level, I can drive and work on it.
So it's kind of like what you're doing here already. Mm-hmm. And I would imagine that when you've been racing 3-4 nights a week for the last 3 seasons, I think your mom and dad were telling me before we started the interview, there's like 1,500 Northern Sport Mod drivers in the U.S. You're like top 5%. I would imagine with your work ethic, with your grades, that shouldn't be a problem. So if he's racing during college, are you going out to Ohio and watching him?
Well, Mom has said things like that. I don't know. That where he wants to go, they have this program. They do have their own race teams because they have connections with NASCAR and stuff like that. But that's not part of your schooling. That's an extra deal. They expect a 40-hour-a-week commitment. They really don't want freshmen to do it until they prove that they can handle college. And so that's 40 hours outside of college that those guys put in to do that. But it's something he'd like to do, and it's connected with NASCAR even to the dirt track level, because that's what, and I don't know, you'll probably ask him, because next year some of our plant we're going to run NASCAR.
Oh, okay. Well, I was going to ask you, what's your favorite sanctioning so far? You ran some NASCAR, but you're predominantly IMC. Do you like IMC and just not really ventured into NASCAR? Or?
We've ran the NASCAR tracks. We've never really focused on the rules of NASCAR. We've mostly ran IMCA and focused on their rules. So next year we'll focus probably more on their rules and their tracks and places like that.
After you, if you go to a NASCAR track like I-80 or McCool, Adams County here in the Midwest, they're going to be known as B mods. Let's say 2 years into the future, do you plan on staying in the B mod / sport mod ranks, or do you want to move up to the A mod late model?
If I could, I would move up to an A mod next year. But, no, I don't know if that'll happen. But I'd want to move up to an A mod. I don't know if I'd ever go. I'd probably try out late models and sprint cars, but I don't know if I'd ever run them weekly.
Really? Why is that?
Because certain tracks, like most tracks you go to, you'll find B mods, A mods, and there's only certain tracks that run late models, sprint cars. So you'll find them more common in the A mods and B mods.
When you're 17, a lot of 17-year-olds are out there wanting to do this. Now, we already established that you're rooted firmly into this right here. But Jack Kroll and I were talking on a recent episode that people get complacent in racing. They find their safe zone, they stay there, they get stale in their class, they don't move up. How do you keep things fresh for being a 17-year-old? Because I'm 40 and I can't keep my head screwed on straight. I was worse when I was 17. How do you keep focused with what you're doing?
Well, I like working on the cars and I like racing, but I got to do more on working on them and then racing. But as more I get to race, the better I can get.
Well, I did see one interesting Facebook post where you were like falling asleep in the seat watching TV. I even think you mentioned, I'm going to get more work done if I don't fall asleep watching the NASCAR race. That was pretty funny. You know, here 3 years ago you started, you weren't really well known. You've now got a website. You've got Facebook, Twitter, you got all that stuff. I still haven't figured out Twitter. I keep putting tweets out there, but nobody ever tweets me back. I think that's what it's called, a tweet. So, talk about that. How helpful has that been for you in the racing program?
I think it helps a lot because the people that don't really get to go out to the races get to see what goes on at the racetrack for us. And the people that are at the races, if they like my page or something like that, they get to learn, see what goes on behind the racetrack and the pits and stuff like that.
How much pride did you have as a father? And the reason why I ask is I remember my dad doing this. I think I might have been with you at the track one night. You're walking around and somebody's walking by going, hey, that's Ari Scouting. And because you've mentioned this to me, you're like, we don't even know these people. And they knew who we are. How much pride do you take in that?
Well, I'm proud of him for that, building his name the way he is. You know, it's taking time, but like I said, we started not with a lifetime of experience, and so long as you keep improving and pushing, like you talk about getting complacent, we're inching along, you know, and I keep telling him, you're getting there, you're that far away from the next step. You know, now he's running to where he's you know, now I'm expecting him to get into A features when there's a lot of cars. You know, I'm expecting him to finish in the top half of his heat, you know, and it's tough because there's so many good drivers, and he's young and timid, but I think he's getting more and more confidence. I'm getting better knowing that the car's right, so I tell him, trust the car, go.
Yep.
So
you say, we've raced a lot against each other in the past. You say young and timid, I say young and smart. Ari's pretty well known to hold his line. You know, a lot of times, in fact, I've even mentioned this to you, I kind of pulled your chain out there. I'd crowd Ari, I'd get right next to him, I wouldn't blast him, I wouldn't door check him. But if Ari goes down to the corner, I'm gonna go a little bit lower than Ari, try to maybe crowd him a little bit, and he held his line. You know, at times I see where you're coming from with young and timid, but as a veteran driver myself, I see young and smart, very mature. Not the guy that's gonna go out there and play Superman and try to, you know, thread a needle through 4 cars like somebody would in this show. So.
well, and I had somebody who is a veteran racer and a good racer said, you can't teach them to be smart, but you can teach speed. You can't have somebody that's got speed and dumb and get them to be smart. If you can be smart, you can learn the speed.
I don't know if I could agree with that. I mean, if you want speed and dumb, I mean, there's Jack Prawl. Oh, sorry, Jack, but.
Well, if you want to pull up examples, just look at examples.
Yeah, that's good.
There's fast people that are scary, you know?
I've been scary a time or two. Even I've gotten out of the car going, what in the hell was I thinking when I did that? But
you know, and you're afraid to race with them. They're faster than you, but you don't know what's going to happen when they go in the corner, and they don't care either. So 3
years of racing, you've been in some pretty big, high-profile races. This year, your dad alluded to, you're going to the Boone Super Nationals. What are your expectations for Boone Super Nationals?
I'd like to at least finish a race, because...
Meet girls?
Yeah, if I could make the A, or any A, it'd be good, but I'd like to... I don't know, I'd like to at least do something.
Gus, are you a little nervous, a little weary about Super Nationals? I mean, this is the biggest race you guys have ever gone into.
We went there to Boone on a weekly show once this year, before I ever decided we would do this. I said, let's go there, see what it's like, you know, and even people there, we've talked to people, we'd never raced there. They said, it's kind of intimidating, this and that, but it was like, I watched him go, and the way Boone is those long straights, really tight corners, and they go flying into that corner. But I was surprised at how well he ran, till he was going too fast and touched somebody in front of him and spun out in his heat, so then he was done.
Right.
And then Boone kind of has a reputation for some reason this year that it's really hard to pass on. Because of the feature, he ran in the feature head start and back because what happened in the heat, and never got overlapped. Nobody got overlapped, but I don't think anybody passed anybody. They all just ran around that feature. So when he's talking about finishing a race, yeah, if he finishes his heats and gets the run at B and finishes. For me, every night we drive the car on, after it's done, that's a good night.
Especially after what you're just going through now. Well, we're just about out of time. Ari, what is the best way for people to follow you, see where you're racing, what you're doing, if you're meeting girls, how you're doing Super Nationals?
You can find more about me on Facebook at 99RE Racing, and my website is the same thing, 99RERacing.com.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Ari Scouten and his father, Gus, crew chief for the driver of the 99 Ari Scouten. Tell you what, it's been Slingin Dirt TV. We'll be right back here in a few moments. So what do you think of old Ari?
I like Ari. He's a good kid, you know?
Well, yeah, he's a good kid. And Gus is a one of a kind.
Yeah, he is.
You know, you watch the interview and he talks a lot. And Leslie was like, when I met Gus, he never said 2 words. Now you put a beer in him and put him around race car drivers and he don't shut up.
Well, you know, maybe he's learning a little bit too, because he's been having to learn a lot crew chief in that car, so he's...
Yeah, but I think Gus really, you know, he's got a great sense of pride. You know, Anna and Lauren Scouten, they race cage karts, so we didn't get to really mention that a whole lot in the interview. I don't think we did at all. But Anna and Lauren Scouten, his sisters, they're really good in the cage karts, and I think those two got a promising career in racing as they get older. But Gus has so much pride watching Ari, where Ari is the driver. There's a clear distinction between crew chief and driver. And when I've seen Gus out of the track, that guy is more mental than you and I combined. He's taking notes on everything. He's got binders that in the shop.
I was just shooting the breeze with him a while back, and he was telling me, if we were talking about how much we hated changing gears, and he was telling me how he has this system right down to how many exact pumps of fluid go into it. I mean, that's the kind of detail that Gus does, you know. And they have multiple cars, so he's always putting one together and just working his butt off to keep Ari on the track.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that relationship is no different than when you and your dad race together, me and my dad, or me and my son.
It's funny you say that.
The father-son thing. Because
I'm out at Eagle here 2 years ago. I kid you not. And I'm just sitting there. I put a chew in. I'm drinking my Dr. Pepper, and Gus is working on the car, and Ari's standing there. And all of a sudden, it's they look like 2 chihuahuas with lipstick going after each other. And I just started laughing, and they both stopped, and they looked at me, and they're like, what's so funny? I was like, oh my God, you remind me of me and my dad.
It is.
And I'm sure you and BJ have.
Oh, we did it last week, you know. We had those double features and stuff going on, and I swore I finished 5th. I didn't even get out of the car. I was getting ready to go back out, and he's like, you finished 6th. And we were arguing. He's like, I can count to 6, damn it. You know?
Yeah, but Ari and Gus, great people, great family. They are literally do anything that will take the shirt off their backs for you. So you get out to the tracks, US 30, Denison, Eagle, Stewart, Iowa. I would consider that's their 4 main tracks. I do know Denison, they'll hit once or twice a year. So definitely look up 99RE. That's 99, letter R, letter E.
You can't miss the pink car.
Yeah, you can't miss the pink car, and I tell you what, it's a cool looking pink car. So anyways, moving on, we have
the tech tip of the week coming up.
The tech tip of the week.
So stay tuned with us.
Yeah, stay tuned.
And we'll be right back.
We'll be right back.
At Kaziski Auto Parts Team PRP, this is where everything starts with our quality control, staying clean, and everything is organized right here in the teardown. At Kaziski Auto Parts, in our Step 2 process, this is where our guys take the engines and trannies out, They power wash and make sure everything tests good and clean so you have no problems for your vehicle. This is step 3 at Koziski Auto Parts. This is where everything again is organized, put on the shelf properly, tagged right. And if you notice how clean everything is, so that suits you, because we're not a junkyard, we are a recycled auto parts store. This is our last and final step here. This is the shipping and receiving. This is the last part where the part gets checked one last time, so 3 people will touch your part before it goes out the door, packaged properly and sent right to your door. Koziski Auto Parts Team PRP. We have over 1,000 cars in stock a year, over 1,000 engines and trannies. Give us a call anytime. 402-731-4592. Any one of our 10 salesmen can help you at any time.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Slingin Dirt TV, brought to you by Joe's Karting. We got our tech tip of the week. I brought in a few little trinkets of things that I use on a regular basis that just kind of, they're not huge things that you know have to have, but they're things that make your life easier.
Anything that makes my life easier is the thing I have to have.
Yeah, and I've found out, you know, through the years of working on various stuff that just sometimes there's tools you can't do without. And these cable reels right here are the bomb when it comes to trying to troubleshoot electrical problems, whether it's your trailer or it's your car. I mean, you can just pull on these leads and, you know, if you got 30 feet of wire, you can go from up where your trailer's plugged into, cleared it, you know, all the way back, and you can find out if you have broken wires and bad connectors, and it just kind of gives you the...
Don't ever try to jumpstart your vehicle with one of these, though. I did that and it burned.
No, they're kind of not big enough for that.
Yeah.
But they're great, and they're retractable, and you just wind them up real easy like that. I've got several sets. I have a single wire, a double wire, and a triple wire. And these are really great, like if you're trying to figure out an ignition problem in your car and you got a broken wire and you don't want to have to crawl under, tear dashboards out, you can just touch things to terminals. They're great. And like I say, this one's 10 foot, that one's 30 foot. That's mostly I use for trailers. You know, so these are really handy. You can pick them up in a lot of different places. I believe I got these off the Snap-on truck a long time ago.
I think if you go to O'Reilly's or Vance, I think they sell them. I think they're 20 or 30 bucks. But I remember years ago, I was the guy that would dig around the toolbox. I tried to find a piece of wire about so long, and then I would strip it down, do all this. This was so much easier. And even though a lot of you might think that this is not a big tech tip, I'm a firm believer that anything that makes our jobs easier in the garage working on the car is a must tech tip. And I just want to pass that on because you never know who, you know, a sport compact racer coming up into the sport or a hobby stock racer may not even know that these things exist.
And they're probably like $30, $40 a piece for the
but they're well worth it.
And see, I have a single wire one too, and the thing that's nice about it, everybody's like, well, why do you just have a single wire one? Well, where it really comes in to play, a single wire, is you can hook that to your test light, and you run it all the way up to your ground where you know it's good up at the front of your trailer, and you can go back there and probe for power so you know where you have power at, and it just makes sure that you have a good ground, and because 98% of the problems with trailers are grounds. So you can eliminate a lot of things just by using that single wire. Now here's another thing that, you know, I use a lot. It's just a small solar panel, and you're like, well, what the hell do you use that for? Well, believe it or not, this is what I charge my winch batteries with on my race trailer.
Really?
Yep, because my trailer doesn't hook to my truck. It just sits out there by itself, and you know, after 4 or 5 nights of winching cars and stuff like that, batteries get ran down.
How long does it take to charge a winch?
This one, like I said, I usually throw it on there. I was going to permanently mount this on the top of my trailer, but I use it on my tractor at home too. I'll just take and screw those onto the battery terminals with a couple alligator clips. Set it on the sun. This one's small enough, and believe it or not, I picked this up at a yard sale for like $5. You know, it's just cheap little insurance.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to be seeing these at
no,
yard
but
sales.
you can get these through Northern Hydraulics and
SunTech is the brand name.
Right.
Yep. It's actually lightweight.
Yep. And most of these have the technology. They're just kind of like a battery charger. They'll shut off when they sense that the voltage of the battery is good. I mean, you just throw it on your trailer and let it charge the battery up. I mean, we race every week, so it sits out there in the sun and does its thing, and I don't have to worry about charging batteries.
I would think that you could almost make a frame for this. Like
it has mounting brackets.
Well, my toolbox on the back of my truck, I can mount it in the back, in the center of the toolbox.
Yeah.
So when we're going down the road, I just run this wire in, and I have the charger that plugs into your cigarette lighter. So I could take that.
You could use it for all. You could charge your phones. You can do anything with these. That's a nice thing, you know. Like I don't mount this one, but it's because it's small and I can transfer it from other things. But I have bigger ones at the house that I use for stuff that's permanent. Like in my barn doesn't have power.
Once again, something you may not think of, but you know, it's easy, it's versatile, it's lightweight.
Yep,
$5 is cheap.
Hell yeah. I mean, you can pick these up relatively cheap. I say you look through Northern Tool. Any more solar panels are getting cheaper and cheaper. But
Oh, absolutely. I actually thought about putting one on the top of my trailer.
yeah, it's just cheap backup, you know, if your batteries get weak and stuff like that, because it's one of those set it, forget it type things. You mount them permanently. Like I say, I use this small one just to transfer around for stuff out there at the acreage, you know, with the tractors and everything. It's just easier to set that up there instead of disconnecting a battery, hauling it up to the house and putting it on battery charger.
Right.
Well, there you go, folks. There's a couple of little tech tips that I use quite frequently, really. So go out and get you some of this stuff if you think you can use it. And we'll be right back with messages from our sponsors.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Slingin Dirt, presented by Joe's Karting. Joe's Karting, your only place to race, where the only restriction is how slow you are. Every time I say that, you point to me and I point to you, but I just want to clarify. Who's ahead in the Team Bud, Team Jack challenge?
Who should have got DQ'd this weekend but didn't because he knows the track owner?
Oh, dear Lord.
Not going to say anymore. I'm not going to go there because there's a few people that are pissed off about that. But hey, you do whatever you feel you got to do to try to beat me, because if you're trying to beat me, that means that you think you're worse than I am and you have to try to prove yourself. So
wow.
There you go.
So, anyways, we fan of the week question, and it was actually a good one. And we've been talking about this for a long, long time.
Yeah, we have.
Is it better to run for points, or is it better to just travel around, meet people, do different things, stuff like that? Well, it's been no secret that next year, I was going to do it this year, but we came out of the gate pretty strong, thought we had a good shot, so I was like, well, we'll just stick with the points. And I've completely made my mind up. Here in the last, I don't know, a month, I've been to, Clark County, I-80, Denison, Atchison, Kansas, US 30, and I had fun.
Yeah.
Just fun. A lot of times when I went to US 30, this is kind of a funny story. We go into the gas station. We're on our way to the track. We stop at the gas station. This is a little small town. Well, I shouldn't say Columbus is pretty big, but you know, it's just another average small town. We pull in, and the ladies in the gas station go, "Well, we've never seen you guys. Where are you guys from?"
Yeah.
That really struck a chord with me. Here we are, we're on two of them, practically the busiest intersection in a town that we've never been to, going to a track we've never seen, and yet those clerks must be paying attention to the racing scene because they're like, well, we've never seen you guys. Where are you guys from?
Well, we've talked about, places like Beatrice, where that track is that town's identity for a lot of it. So they know who the people are that are in there in and out, day in, day out. And it's funny because you're talking about this. My wife went to the funeral this past week, and she was texting me, and she says, I hear race cars. She had stopped to get gas. I said, well, how far are you away from home? She says, about 120 miles. I said, you must be in Stewart. And she looked, and the clerks go, yes, you're in Stewart, and that is the racetrack.
Yeah.
So that's just how these small town tracks are, and they're fun. Like we went to Denison and Clark County, the other tracks. I really want to run more tracks. My biggest thing is time crunches, but I think, like you and I have talked about, maybe we'll just take and go on the road next year versus sticking to one track.
To get on.
I know, I heard.
Yeah, Mr. Jamie Songer,
the
Roads and Toads tour.
Yeah, if we could get all of us together and start hitting some of these tracks, I think it would just be a lot of fun.
Jamie
and there's no
Songer,
stress. I mean, points racing is stressful. I don't care who you are. If you're in a points race, for championships and battling.
Well, what just happened this Friday night
Yeah.
was a lot of stress.
Yeah, it is. Just trying to keep your car put together. Little things break, and somebody takes you out, flat tires, just things like that, make you just crazy.
Yeah. It's stressful. Nobody wants to break. Nobody
No.
wants to DNF.
When you
or
find
DNS.
that indestructible car, let me know.
Oh yeah, but when you're running when you're just out there traveling, to me now, racing is like a lot of things in life. People will take the same thing and get 20 different meanings out of it. People hunt for food. People hunt for fun. Maybe people hunt for both of them, for both reasons, like you do. Me, and this is going to sound really cocky and egotistical, and it's not meant to be, but I'm 40 years old. This was my 23rd season. I'm not a national champion race car driver. I've come up with that conclusion on my own.
Really?
Yeah.
You're not as fast as you think you are?
I didn't say I'm not as fast. I'm just saying I'm not a national champion. I think I can be pretty competitive. I've had a lot of top 10, top 5 in points. I know I'm a very fast, competitive driver. I can wheel a car. But when I've been in this sport for 23 years, when I look at today's racers coming in, how many of those racers are going to make it every week, season to season, back to back, 23 years? Not very many of them.
No.
And so I take a lot of pride in that. So at this point, I don't think I have a whole lot to prove to anybody.
No.
I'm not going anywhere. I'm a staple in this race. So now when I travel, I find out I enjoy the windshield time. I'm thinking about, when I'm going to US 30, I'm already thinking about my next track. When I get to US 30, the Melcher family, which you guys seen on Slingin last week, incredibly nice family. I had drivers coming up to me, Jack, I have not seen, but I remember racing against you in the Friday Night Flyers at Eagle. That was in the mid-90s.
Yeah.
And these people don't race no more, but, so we had a lot of fun, but like you said, there was no pressure. If I do bad, I do bad. If I do great, I do great. Now, I want to do great, I don't want to do bad.
And it's just one of those just simplest thing, like having a flat tire on the trailer. If you're weekly racing and you get a flat tire on the trailer on the way to the track, and
You're running for points.
and you know how that feeling is when you get to the track late.
Yeah.
And you're in that
I don't like getting to the
that
track
panic
late.
mode, and you can't get into your normal rhythm. That's points racing. When you're racing for fun, it's like, oh yeah, well we'll just skip hot laps, and it's a little less stressful.
Well, the nice thing is too is that when you're racing, I was looking last night. I was talking to Jamie Songer on the phone, and I was like, well, why is he on the phone? So I go to Stewart, I look at the results, he didn't race Stewart. Well, he's not a factor in the points. So the nice thing is you're traveling, and let's say this week I'm going to XYZ Speedway, and XYZ Speedway races next week. Well, if I'm not a factor for points and I miss it, it's no big deal. There's no pressure there.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody wants to break DNF or DNS at a track, but that can happen at any given track on any given night. I don't care if you're at Clark County or Stewart, Nebraska, or IE Speedway.
Yeah, and the thing is, when you go to these new tracks, generally you're going to start in the back unless it's
Oh,
the first couple
yeah.
weeks of the season. So there's also no pressure there. You don't have to worry about guys running up your butt and taking you out. You can kind of start at the back and work your way up and figure the track out. Just things are a lot less stressful instead of, I think it'd be a lot of fun. I really wish that IMCA would go to the quick change rear end to the sport mods. Traveling would be so much more easy then.
Yeah, I don't see that happening anytime soon, but
They gave them to the modifieds. If we make a few phone calls, that all that power you have.
well, let me show you how that would work. Brett? Yes, it's Bud.
Click.
So, I tell you what, we're going to be right back here on Slingin Dirt. We're going to go talk to one of our sponsors and see if they'll actually listen to us or if we can listen to them. So stay tuned, we'll be right back. Hey race fans, Sunday, September 6th, it's the Kinsey Memorial Night Before Nationals, Stewart International Speedway in Stewart, Iowa. Gates open at 5 o'clock, hot laps at 7, racing to follow. You're going to have $1,000 to win IMCA Modifieds, $1,000 to win IMCA Stock Cars, the Clint Walward Memorial with the Mini Mods, and the Kylie Hunter Memorial with the Sprint Cars. Stewart Speedway, night before Nationals.
Warning, the related content may be disturbing to some viewers. Viewer discretion is advised.
Alright, so lately I think the driving has been a little rougher than normal. I mean, there's some out-of-control jackasses out there who obviously don't know how to drive. I mean, hey, ding, 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 got a news weather flash for you, or a race car driver flash, or whatever the hell you want to call it. If the track is shiny and there's no moisture, we call that dry slick. It's kind of like driving on ice. You don't go blowing it in on the Mixmaster at 80 miles an hour on ice. You slow down so you can get through it. So you don't blow your car into turn 1 and hope it hangs on on the bottom and the poor guy on top gets taken out. Another way around the track is not in an S shape. The track is circular. There's 4 turns to a track, not 18. If you're turning your tires 18 times, number 1, you're not fast, and number 2, you're gonna run into somebody or something. I mean, I don't know if you people buy plastic, rubber, putty cars or whatever, but I don't. My shit bends and breaks, and then I gotta pay to fix it. I fixed plenty of shit this year. Quite frankly, I'm sick of fixing stuff. All because some jackass who wants to whine and cry about everybody else's driving. If I bump you or I hit you, I'm the first to tell you. But you people who think you're clean drivers, and then you watch a video, wait, do you watch it with your eyes closed? I mean, some of this driving, and I'm not talking about hobby stocks, I'm talking about everybody. Just blow it in there, hope it sticks, and hey, 8 wheels turn better than 4. Hang on, bud. This shit gets old. This stuff is expensive. I don't care if you're made of money, got money, don't have money, beg for money, whatever. It's all expensive. And some jackass not giving a shit and blowing it into every corner and tearing up your shit is getting old. So let's try and remember that there's a few other people out there on the track besides ourselves, and we need to protect their stuff because we sure would like them to protect ours. And maybe the rest of the year will go a little better.
Wow, good old Mr. Jamie Sommer.
Yep.
We've said it a million. If I said it once, I've said it a million times. You gotta meet the guy.
I don't know how he has that much crap on his mind just to rant out. I must be way mellower than Jamie.
Actually, Jamie's about the mellowest guy I know.
He is pretty mellow.
He is like a pillar of the racing society. Not scared to speak his mind.
No.
He's respected
You've
by
seen
many.
that.
Oh yeah. He's very outspoken. But it's so funny. I keep telling everybody, when you see Jamie Sommer, he's away from the racing, the cars, the cameras, all that. This is Jamie Sommer. Yeah. Okay. Yep. All right. And I'm sitting there. Now this was at lunch, and I'm like, this is the great Jamie Sommer. I mean, really? This is the guy that does Sommer Says, but he's a really good
Jamie's
guy.
like a top fuel dragster. He's sitting there at idle, flap,
Yeah,
flap,
he's
and
all-
then
yeah.
something hits him. He's like, bah!
Yeah.
So, anyways, Songer, you're a top fuel dragster in my opinion.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's this week's episode of Slingin' Dirt. We'll be back next week. I will tell you next week, I think we're going to try to get Tom Charles on the show with his grandson, Austin Charles. So look forward to that. I think we got a pretty good shot at getting that interview. We might even have it already. So
Well,
come back next week.
How's the old Harker Manpower dilemma? Have you heard anything on that?
No, but I did hear that National Geographic is issuing a Shark Week watch for September 13th.
Wow.
Yeah, so stay tuned to that.
Make
we'll
sure
keep
you go to Plattsmouth to the Harvest Festival at September 13th.
September 13th. Wrestling matches start at 4:30. Could the Shark be on the loose? I don't know. that they're watching. It's kind of like, you know.
I haven't heard a lot from old Mr. Harker in the last couple days.
No, but he's like that.
But he is. He's one of those, he'll hide in the weeds and then come out and bite you. So stay tuned to Slingin' Dirt. We got more stuff coming up in the following weeks. It's getting hot and heavy championship weeks.
Yep.
We got Harker and Mantower's Dilemma. We got Songer going off. So stay tuned to Slingin' Dirt, and we'll see you next week.